In the heart of a bustling city, Sarah and Michael appeared to be the picture-perfect couple. Sarah, a strikingly beautiful woman in her early 30s, had always dreamed of a life filled with luxury and excitement. She believed she deserved more than the modest existence she shared with Michael, who she assumed was a middle-income office worker. To Sarah, their life seemed ordinary, far removed from the glamorous lifestyles of her wealthier friends. Michael, on the other hand, was a quiet and thoughtful man. In his late 30s, he valued simplicity and authenticity above all else. Unknown to Sarah, Michael wasn't the man she thought he was. Beneath his modest exterior lay an extraordinary secret. He was a self-made multimillionaire, owning a vast technology empire. However, Michael had chosen to keep his wealth hidden, wanting to ensure that his relationships were built on genuine affection rather than materialistic allure. As Sarah grew restless and disillusioned, Michael remained deeply in love, hoping she valued him for who he truly was. But cracks had begun to form in their marriage. Sarah's longing for a more extravagant life would soon lead her down a path of betrayal, setting the stage for a revelation that would change both their lives forever. Michael White was not the man most people assumed he was. On the surface, he appeared to be an average, hard-working office employee living a modest life with his wife, Sarah. He dressed in simple clothes, drove an unremarkable car, and avoided ostentatious displays of wealth. Yet beneath this ordinary facade lay a life that few could imagine. Michael was the owner and CEO of a highly successful technology company, a business he had built from the ground up over the last decade. His wealth was staggering: luxury properties in prime locations, high-end investments, and a net worth that placed him comfortably in the realm of multimillionaires. But Michael had always believed that money could corrupt relationships. His modest upbringing had taught him the value of genuine connections, and he feared that revealing his true financial status would attract the wrong kind of attention. To Michael, Sarah had been the love of his life. When they married, he believed her affections were rooted in the simplicity of their bond. For that reason, he chose to keep his wealth a secret, hoping she would love him for the man he was, not the money he had. Michael had carefully constructed his life to preserve this illusion, even maintaining a separate team to manage his financial affairs discreetly. Despite his hidden wealth, Michael often questioned whether his secrecy was the right choice. He had built his empire for the life he envisioned with Sarah, yet she seemed increasingly distant and unhappy. Her restlessness did not go unnoticed, but Michael remained patient, hoping she would find joy in their shared life. Unbeknownst to Michael, Sarah's growing dissatisfaction with their simple life would soon lead her to a choice that could unravel the very foundation of their marriage, and expose the secrets he had so carefully guarded. Sarah had always envisioned a life filled with glamour and excitement. In her early 30s, she found herself trapped in what she saw as a mundane existence with Michael, her husband of 5 years. Their modest home, sensible vacations, and practical lifestyle left her yearning for more. While Michael seemed content with their quiet life, Sarah's dissatisfaction grew with each passing day. Her social circle didn't help matters. Sarah's friends often boasted about their luxurious vacations, designer wardrobes, and affluent partners. Whenever they gathered, Sarah felt out of place, unable to match their stories of opulence. She envied the confidence they exuded and silently resented her own life for falling short of the standard they set. Michael, she believed, lacked ambition, and his average job seemed to promise an unremarkable future. The seeds of discontent began to sprout when she met Daniel, a charismatic and seemingly wealthy man, at a cafe she frequented. Daniel was everything Sarah thought she wanted: charming, stylish, and a natural conversationalist. His air of sophistication captivated her, and the attention he lavished upon her filled a void she hadn't even realized was there. He complimented her beauty, listened intently, and spoke of a world that seemed worlds apart from the one she shared with Michael. Though guilt occasionally gnawed at her, Sarah convinced herself that she deserved a chance at happiness. She rationalized her growing interest in Daniel as an escape from her stifling life. The more time she spent with him, the more distant she became from Michael. Late nights, secretive phone calls, and a constant preoccupation with her appearance became the new normal. Unbeknownst to Sarah, her pursuit of something better was steering her toward a choice that would not only unravel her marriage, but also expose the truth about the man she thought she knew. It started innocently enough, an occasional coffee with Daniel at the cafe where they first met. Sarah told herself it was harmless, a way to escape the monotony of her daily life and indulge in light-hearted conversation. Daniel, with his effortless charm and seemingly endless stories of luxury, offered a glimpse into a world Sarah had always dreamed of. He spoke of extravagant parties, high-powered business deals, and exotic destinations, painting a picture of a life far removed from her own. As the days turned into weeks, Sarah's encounters with Daniel became more frequent. What began as casual chats over coffee soon escalated into secret dinners and whispered phone calls late at night. Sarah found herself lying to Michael, fabricating excuses for her absences. She told herself it wasn't really cheating, not yet. But deep down, she knew she was crossing a line. Michael, meanwhile, began to notice subtle changes in Sarah's behavior. She had become more distant, distracted during their conversations, and overly concerned with her appearance. He often found her smiling at her phone or stepping away to take private calls. When he asked if everything was okay, Sarah brushed it off, insisting she was just busy or stressed. Though Michael tried to dismiss his suspicions, a gnawing sense of unease began to take root. For Sarah, the allure of Daniel was intoxicating. He flattered her endlessly, making her feel seen and desired in a way she hadn't experienced in years. She started to compare him to Michael, whose quiet, unassuming nature now seemed dull in contrast. Daniel promised her excitement, passion, and a life of indulgence, everything she felt was missing from her marriage. Yet Sarah knew very little about Daniel beyond what he told her. She didn't question the gaps in his stories or the inconsistencies in his claims of wealth. Blinded by her own yearning for something more, she ignored the warning signs and allowed herself to fall deeper into the illusion he presented. As the affair progressed, Sarah felt a mixture of exhilaration and guilt. She told herself that Michael would never find out, that she could have her escape without disrupting her life. But what Sarah didn't realize was that Michael had already begun to suspect the truth, and her secret world with Daniel was on the verge of unraveling. As Sarah fell deeper into her affair with Daniel, she remained oblivious to the cracks in the illusion he had so carefully crafted. Daniel had swept her off her feet with grandiose tales of wealth and sophistication, but the truth about him was far less glamorous. Behind his polished exterior and flashy stories lay a man with ulterior motives, a con artist who preyed on vulnerable women seeking escape from their lives. Daniel's interest in Sarah wasn't born from love or affection. He had quickly identified her dissatisfaction with her marriage and her longing for a more luxurious lifestyle. To Daniel, Sarah was an easy target, someone he could manipulate for personal gain. He wasn't the successful businessman he claimed to be. Instead, he lived off the wealth he siphoned from others, moving from one woman to the next, leaving a trail of financial ruin behind him. As their relationship deepened, Daniel began probing Sarah for details about her life with Michael. He subtly questioned her about their finances, their lifestyle, and any assets they might share. Sarah, enamored and eager to please, revealed more than she should, never once suspecting Daniel's true intentions. She spoke of Michael's ordinary job, their modest home, and her frustration with their lack of wealth, inadvertently feeding Daniel's belief that Michael was of no concern. Meanwhile, Michael, sensing something was amiss, hired a private investigator to learn more about the man Sarah was secretly seeing. It didn't take long for the truth about Daniel to surface. The investigator uncovered Daniel's history of deception, multiple aliases, past victims, and a trail of fraud that stretched across cities. Armed with this information, Michael decided to handle the situation strategically. Confrontation wouldn't be enough. He needed to expose Daniel for who he truly was and make Sarah see the danger she was in. Unaware of the storm brewing, Sarah continued to meet Daniel, believing she had found a ticket to the life she always dreamed of. But Daniel's carefully constructed web of lies was beginning to unravel. Michael's patience and calculated approach would soon bring the truth to light, shattering Sarah's illusion and forcing her to confront the reality of her choices, and the man she had betrayed. Michael was devastated by the betrayal, but chose to keep his emotions in check. Confronting Sarah directly would be too impulsive, and he wanted to ensure the situation was handled with clarity and control. Equipped with the information from his private investigator about Daniel's fraudulent history, Michael devised a plan not just to expose Daniel, but also to force Sarah to confront the reality of her choices. The first step of his plan involved a charity gala that Michael's company hosted annually. Known for its opulence and high-profile guest list, the event was a perfect opportunity to reveal the truth. Michael, still hiding his wealth from Sarah, invited her to the gala under the guise of a work obligation, claiming it was a corporate event he was required to attend. Sarah, eager to maintain appearances with Daniel, saw it as an opportunity to impress her secret lover. She convinced Daniel to accompany her, spinning it as a chance for him to mingle with influential people. On the night of the gala, Sarah and Daniel arrived in their best attire. Sarah felt a surge of pride as she walked into the grand venue, imagining the admiration in Daniel's eyes. The lavish decorations, crystal chandeliers, and high-end crowd captivated her, further feeding her belief that she belonged in this world. Daniel, however, seemed unusually quiet, scanning the room with a nervous edge. When the event reached its peak, the master of ceremonies took to the stage to introduce the evening's host, Michael White, CEO of White Tech Innovations. The spotlight shifted to Michael, who walked onto the stage with calm confidence. Sarah froze in her seat, her breath catching as she struggled to comprehend what she was seeing. Daniel, now visibly panicked, attempted to leave quietly, but Michael's security intercepted him. Michael spoke with poise, addressing the crowd while keeping his gaze briefly on Sarah. "Tonight, we celebrate generosity and integrity," he said, his tone measured. Two qualities that are often tested in the most unexpected ways. The words hung in the air, sharp with meaning. As the night unraveled, Sarah's humiliation deepened. Michael's careful orchestration had not only exposed Daniel's lies, but also forced Sarah to see the consequences of her betrayal. The facade she had built came crashing down, leaving her to confront the husband she thought she knew, and the man she had so carelessly underestimated. The charity gala was in full swing, the air alive with the hum of conversations and the clinking of champagne glasses. Sarah, dressed in her finest gown, walked arm in arm with Daniel, her excitement bubbling beneath the surface. This was her moment, a chance to step into the world she had always dreamed of. Unbeknownst to her, this very event was orchestrated by Michael as the setting for a dramatic revelation. As they settled into the opulent venue, Sarah admired the grandeur around her, the glittering chandeliers, the impeccably dressed guests, and the lavish decor. She glanced at Daniel, proud to be by his side. Daniel, however, appeared uneasy, his eyes darting around the room. Still, Sarah brushed off his behavior, too caught up in her fantasy to notice the cracks in his composure. Midway through the evening, the master of ceremonies took to the stage to introduce the host of the event. "Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the man behind tonight's success, a visionary leader and philanthropist, Mr. Michael White." A wave of applause erupted as Michael stepped into the spotlight, his tailored suit and confident demeanor commanding attention. Sarah's heart stopped. She stared in disbelief as her husband, the man she had dismissed as ordinary and unambitious, addressed the crowd with ease and authority. The words of the MC echoed in her mind: visionary leader, philanthropist. Michael wasn't just attending the event, he owned it. The realization hit her like a tidal wave: she had been living a lie, but not the one she thought. Daniel, now visibly panicked, tried to make a quiet exit, but Michael's security intercepted him before he could slip away. The room seemed to close in around Sarah as her dual worlds collided. Michael's voice, calm but firm, resonated through the hall. Tonight, we celebrate integrity and the strength to overcome challenges. But sometimes, the greatest challenges come from those we trust the most. Michael's words were a dagger to Sarah's heart. He glanced in her direction briefly, his expression a mixture of sadness and resolve. The weight of her betrayal crushed her as she realized Michael had known all along. The carefully constructed illusion she had clung to shattered in an instant, leaving her exposed, humiliated, and painfully aware of the consequences of her choices. The gala ended, but the weight of what had transpired lingered heavily in the air. Sarah sat silently in the car beside Michael, her thoughts a whirlwind of shame, regret, and confusion. She wanted to speak, to explain herself, but no words seemed sufficient. Michael, calm yet distant, drove without saying a word, his silence more cutting than any confrontation. When they arrived home, Sarah broke down. She dropped to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she begged Michael for forgiveness. "I didn't know. I didn't realize," she stammered. "I was so blinded by what I thought I wanted. I've been so foolish." Her voice cracked under the weight of her emotions. She tried to reach for him, but Michael stepped back, keeping a measured distance. Michael finally spoke, his tone steady but laced with pain. "You didn't know because you never cared to ask. You assumed, judged, and looked elsewhere for something better. And in doing so, you betrayed the one person who loved you unconditionally." His words struck Sarah like a blow, each one underscoring the depth of his hurt. Though Sarah continued to plead, Michael remained guarded. "It's not just about Daniel or your actions," he said. "It's about trust, and you've broken it. I don't know if we can ever go back to what we had." The next days were a blur for Sarah, filled with sleepless nights and a heavy heart. Michael, while polite, kept his distance, focusing on his work and avoiding prolonged conversations. Sarah vowed to do whatever it took to rebuild his trust, but deep down, she feared it might already be too late. The fallout of her actions had left their marriage in ruins, and for the first time, Sarah realized that the life she had dismissed as ordinary was far more precious than she'd ever understood. The days following the gala were marked by a heavy silence in the White household. Sarah, racked with guilt, made every effort to reconcile with Michael, but the distance between them felt insurmountable. She threw herself into acts of remorse, writing heartfelt letters, preparing his favorite meals, and even seeking therapy to understand the choices that led her to betray him. Yet, Michael remained guarded, his trust shattered and his heart deeply wounded. For Michael, the revelation of Sarah's infidelity was a painful reminder of why he had hidden his wealth in the first place. He had hoped to build a life based on love and authenticity, but Sarah's actions revealed the dangers of misplaced priorities. He realized that despite his best intentions, their relationship had been built on fragile foundations. Sarah, for her part, began to confront her own flaws. She recognized that her pursuit of material wealth and status had blinded her to the value of what she already had, a partner who had truly loved her. The experience humbled her, forcing her to reevaluate her desires and the choices she had made. She committed to rebuilding her life with or without Michael, determined to become a better version of herself. The story ends on an ambiguous note. While Michael doesn't make any definitive decisions about their marriage, he begins to reflect on forgiveness and the possibility of healing. For now, he focuses on his business and personal growth, unsure if their relationship can ever be salvaged. As for Sarah, she accepts that her actions have consequences and that true happiness can't be found in wealth or superficial pleasures. The experience leaves both of them forever changed, a painful but necessary lesson about love, trust, and the true meaning of loyalty.